Hello, my name is Peter Murphy Lewis, and I'm your host of LTC Heroes. Today we have an exciting episode. I am I am here with Dianne Powell. She is the founder and creator of a beautiful education program in Wichita, Kansas called Allied Health Career Training. And I am excited to talk to her about what she's doing, how she's helping CNAs train, how they climb the ladder, and how she got onto this field. And I have to mention on the personal note, I am starting my CNA training next week at Dianne's training center. And I reached out to a number of different directors of nursing, administrators, and owners in Wichita, and they all told me to go to Allied. So Dianne, welcome to LTC Heroes.
Thank you, Peter. It's great to be here.
Dianne, and before we get into long-term care, I want to get to know you a little bit as a person. So I'm going to start off with some icebreaker questions. Do you have any uncommon hobbies?
Well, I love to travel, and when I say travel, I like to travel cheap, and I like to just figure stuff out. I like going places I've never been and just working my way through it, meeting people, experiencing new things. Yeah, I just love doing that.
I'm going to ask you, what is one place that others might have traveled to, but you exceptionally love? Like if you're on a budget and you're going to travel within 10 hours of Wichita or 18 hours of Wichita, where are you going to go for the weekend?
I have all these apps where I can pull up cheap flights, and wherever I can find that's cheap, that's where I'm going.
I love it. And my next question is related to reading material. What non-long-term care book might I find on your nightstand? And I know you're still an instructor here and there, so you probably have a lot of long-term care stuff in your house. What non-long-term care might I find for reading in your house?
Well, since I started Allied, I read mainly business things, business articles, and then any medical. I love, kind of a nerd. I love keeping up on anything new, anything coming down the pike, that kind of thing. I also enjoy reading, things about what's going on in the world, trying to understand things from other perspectives. Mm-hmm.
You've built an amazing education center in the middle of Kansas. What business book do you remember that had that was important to me, or at least a concept from a book? You don't have to name the book, but something that stood out for you.
Right. Well, it was probably, I can't recall the book, but I can tell you my instructor, I was at Friends University getting a degree in business, and something I really thought a lot of were your people. Your people are your most important asset. If you don't have the people, nothing else really matters. Getting the right people in the right place.
Dianne, you don't have the most traditional career path for executives that I've interviewed on on LTC Heroes. Take me back to when you first got into long-term care. What was your first job, and how long ago was that?
Well, actually, I just was thinking about this when I was a teenager. Now, this is back before you had to have any kind of certification. This would have been in the 70s. I had a job at a long-term care home, as I would, back then they just called you an aide, and I had absolutely no training, and they just kind of put you out there and you just learned by fire. So that was again in sometime in the 70s. And then I had always thought that I might be a nurse, but life happens and I ended up in a mess. And then one day I just decided that I was going to do this. And so I became a CNA. I guess that would have been about in the 1990, and in my 30s. And and then just started from there. When I became a CNA, I worked at the local nursing home. I did a lot of things. Actually, I was going to school full time and driving 60 miles each way. And then I was also working part-time overnight for a lady, private duty care for her. And then I worked at the nursing home. And then I also worked in home health.
Hmm.
So that's
You're
kind of how
busy.
yeah, I was busy.
And how long did you work as a CNA? And then what was the next rung in the ladder as you climbed up in long-term care?
Well, I worked as a CNA probably less than a full year, and then I decided to take med aid. And in fact, I started taking every little class I could, because once I found out there were payer sources, I was elated. I had no idea about that. And I felt, being a little bit older than most of the people who might go in to be a CNA, I was worried that I wouldn't have study habits. I was worried that I couldn't pass. I always thought I was stupid, and but once I got that under my belt, once I had a taste of success, and then I took the CMA, which is the Certified Medication Assistant, and then I took home health aid. I took every class I could. If it was coming at me, I took it, and that really helped me to build my self-esteem. And I applied to LPN, and I couldn't believe that I got in. I thought, oh my goodness. And I was terrified that I probably would not pass. But I thought, well, I have to try. And I ended up being on the dean's list throughout it and doing well. And then I finished my RN, and I just kept thinking, well, surely they're going to find out. I had this horrible imposter syndrome going on, of, oh my God,
Uh-huh.
they're going to find out I'm really stupid and this will all be over with. But, I'm going to do it while I can. And I ended up again doing very well. And every step of that gave me, it empowered me, and it
Mm.
helped me feel my own worth, and it helped me move up. I got better jobs every time, and it 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 took me from a place of disparity
Mm.
to um, to a place, and this is over a matter of years, of course,
Mhm.
place where I was proud of myself, and and really felt very satisfied and good about
Mm.
where I was at. And so that's why I started Allied. I wanted to give back. I want to show others how this works.
And Diane, what was the last job you had in a nursing home before you started Allied?
Yeah, so I was the director of nursing at a nursing home, which is really a funny story because I had worked at a hospital after I got out of nursing school, because they always tell you, go work at the hospital for a few years and get some good skills down and then do whatever you want. Well, I lasted almost 2 years. The hospital wasn't for me. And then I became the administrator of the health department in our county. And I did that for a few years and I loved it. But then we moved out of county, and you had to live in county. So we moved to, and with my husband then, I had gotten remarried during all this. Um, we moved to a nice house with the nursing home right across the street. I mean, directly across the street. And at this nursing home, they just happened to I watched them put up the help wanted sign. And so I thought, well, I'll just go over there and check it out. It's awfully close. I could walk. So I
Talk
went over
about
there,
having problems with separating
right?
work and life.
So I went over there and they said, we're looking for a director of nursing. And I said, well, I haven't worked in long-term care since I was, a med aid, a little bit as an LPN, but I don't know. And they said, you're hired. That's how desperate they were, evidently. I knew nothing about state and regulations, and wow, did I have a learning curve. But it was quite the thing. It was kind of, in some ways, it was wonderful because I could look out the window and see my house. I could watch my kids get off, the bus. Or, it was really neat that way. And I'd have my kids come over and read to some of the residents, um, and on the other side, it was not so good because, yeah, there is no work
Mm.
private home separation when you're that close.
That that learning curve must have been steep. How did you learn? It had been a while since you'd been a nurse. It had been a while since you'd been in long-term care. Did you reach out to colleagues? Did you go to conferences and associations? Did you have to start reading a lot of books, or did you learn on the run?
Yeah. So, and then I ended up being the administrator there after years. But I did. I took the regulations binder, which is a 3-ring binder, 3-incher, and took it home and just started reading through it. And by the time I was done with that, I thought, oh, what have I done? Because there's a lot of regulations, and really tough ones. So then you're right, yeah. Actually, before I could even go to a conference or anything, state came in, and the administrator who was there at that time was not. So there I was, brand new, and state walks in. So that was an education right there. Um,
How'd you
but
do? Do you remember?
Yeah, well, we got a few, but not real bad. I tell you what, I learned. Oh my gosh, I learned so much from that. Um, and I told the new administrator when she came, I said, listen, you seem like a really nice person. I'll stay as long as I can, but I'm not going to be here for another one of those surveys. No way. But then we worked together for about 4 or 5 years because
And
we were
and
great.
and were you already thinking about Allied at this time? Did you just start kind of helping CNAs on the side? Tell me
Yeah.
about the birth of it.
Yeah. So I was shocked that there weren't enough staff. And so I really started thinking about how can I get more staff? And I started thinking about, well, if you want something done right, you do it yourself type thing. So I thought, well, I wonder if I can teach. So I started reaching out and figuring that out, and lo and behold, I could. So I started teaching CNA classes right there at the nursing home. Which, that's a lot of time out of your day, out of your week, out of your month. But I loved it. And so then I taught for one of the JUCOs, Med-Aid, at my um, long-term care home there. And I just started doing these classes, CNA and CMA, frequently. And then other communities would contact me and ask if they could send some. And pretty soon I was filling these classes. They were big classes, and we could just keep them going. And I absolutely love that. And, I would have clinicals. I'd pick out the cream of the crop and send the others down the road. And I think that's when the seed was planted that I would have loved to do this myself. But I really didn't want to work for another school. I did that every once in a while, adjunct. But it, I wanted to do it my way. I had some specific ideas. I don't follow directions real well, I kind of like to be more creative, and I wasn't thrilled with some of the curriculums. And so when my youngest got to be a senior in high school, I thought, I think I'm just going to start a school. And I did.
And I want to pause there, and I want to go back to that first year of teaching, maybe second year of teaching, and I'm going to ask you about a specific student or a specific day or a specific class that you remember. Myself, I was a TA way back in college, and I remember that there was a student. She was a stay-at-home mom. She was about 40 years old, and she was coming back. And I just thought she was the most brilliant person. I felt like I learned more from her as a TA than she did from me. And I can also remember when I was a professor at the university down in South America, I can remember a specific student who just the way that they learned and asked questions. Are there any memories that you have looking back to that first year of teaching that you're like, man, I knew that you finally found the right career for you?
I think the first time I taught a class, I felt that. I absolutely loved it. I loved watching the light come on in their eyes, when they finally got something. I loved imparting little tidbits and pearls of information. Absolutely loved that. And then what a joy to watch them when they got out on the floor and spent time with the residents and saw the relationships coming together. What a joy that is.
Mm.
Yeah, it's hard to beat that.
So, how long has Allied been around, and what are the degrees that you teach now, and how many students come through Allied?
So we're a certification level, kind of I guess you'd call us a VOTEC, career school. We're a Kansas Board of Regents approved post-secondary education. Nobody graduates with any debt. We're a debt-free school. We don't do that. All of our classes are fast and very low cost. My goal is these people, so many of our students, my people, they come to us when they're in situations they don't have the time or the money to spend time or money getting an education. They have these lives that they have to work full time. They got kids. They got stuff going on. Life's difficult for them. So I try to make the class as fast and focused and fun and affordable as possible. And that is what we do. And so our classes, well, our longest class, our classes, most of the classes, like CNA, is less than a month, and so we pack it in there. So you got CNA, and then you can add CMA for another month. So you're climbing this ladder, and you could do phlebotomy, which is 7 weeks. You could do EKG, and you can get up to medical assistant. We also do LP and IV, that kind of thing. Home health aid, operators course for people who might want to run an assisted living or a home plus. So all of our courses are very fast and low cost, and I try to make sure they all have payer sources for people that have, a need for that.
Mm.
And that's basically, they're all certificate level.
What does the average CNA look like,
Mhm.
and how do they end up getting into long-term care? I think from our first conversation, I was surprised by the amount of facilities that pay for CNA's education. Some of them are janitors or cooks or landscapers, and some director of nursing or administrator says like, "Well, this person has the soft skills. Let's
Mhm.
get them the hard skills." And I also know that you help you get a lot of funding from the state. So what does that CNA look like when they get to your door? How do they hear about it?
Right. Word of mouth is a big one. Word of mouth is huge. They have a friend that took the CNA course. Their mother, the aunt, their someone in their family, their grandma went into a nursing home, and so they went to visit grandma, and that facilitated the thought process. So there's all that kind of thing. Generally, I will say our, you know, what is an average student? I don't know, but for Allied, I think it's definitely different for Allied than it is for a lot of your community colleges, in that we tend to get a lot of folks that are a little bit older. Um, I think our average age is in their late 20s. So not we do get some 18, 16-year olds. That's great. I love them. But we have a lot of them, a lot of folks that maybe just took a different path and are and now they're ready to do something that means something to them.
Mm.
There's jobs and there's careers. There's things you do so that you can pay your bills. And sometimes you get to a point in your life where you say, I want to do something that makes a difference.
Hmm. You have a large percentage of CNAs who study in Wichita and a large percentage of CNAs who study in Kansas come through Allied. What do your partnerships look like with the long-term care organizations in the cities that you teach and educate?
Boy, we have students from all over the state. And our students, we have funding from the city of Wichita. We have workforce. We have DCF funding. There's United Way Fund. There's so many different payer sources and funds out there. Long-term care, if you are an intermediate or skilled long-term care, there is a requirement that if a brand new CNA comes to you, that you do reimburse them for their class. A lot of places right now with the job market like it is, they're happy to pay for students to come through. Um, of course, there's the big worry. They pay this money, and then someone could leave them high and dry. And that is a possibility. And it does happen some. That's why a lot of places will hire that person to come and work, and they can observe their work ethic and they can see, might they be a good fit, to be a CNA? And if so, then many times they're more than happy to send them for the training.
I'm You mentioned when you first started out and you started to study to be a CNA, you were a little bit nervous. Then when you studied your med aid, you're a little bit nervous, and then you go LVN a little bit nervous and imposter syndrome. You
Yeah.
can't be alone. I know myself, who's going to study at your institution next week. I'm a little bit nervous as well. What do you say to that 29-year-old mom, in my case, 41-year-old dad? Who says, I don't know if I'm going to remember how to study. I don't know if I'm going to get the technical language. I'm going to embarrass myself. How do you calm them?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. First thing I tell them is, I got you. You're okay. And listen, we will work with you. And most people are just fine. CNA, luckily, a lot of it's common sense. There are things you have to learn, but a good amount of it's common sense.
Mm.
Um, as it goes up from there, the studying gets more so. But with CNA, it's grounded in your basic fundamental things that you have to know to be a CNA. And I will say that our instructors, our online content, we use Canvas, is so solid, and it just leads you right through. And then our instructors are so very good. We will work with you. When we see folks that are struggling, we have free study sessions, we have tutoring. It's Our goal is that everyone succeeds. We have that money back guarantee where we say, if you come to class every day you're supposed to, and you do your work, and you fail the state exam, that's on us, you
Mhm.
know. And we will help you. We will get you past that. And if you do all of that and you tried 3 times and you can't pass that state exam, we will refund you all your money
Mhm.
because clearly we missed the boat on that. I think we've only done that once or twice over in all the years that since Allied, it's been over 10 years now since we've been fully licensed. It took me about a year and a half, and we taught under different banners while we were working through
Mhm.
that. But I think, and that was only with folks who English really struggled with the language. Um, we do have a Spanish CNA as well. So for our folks that may speak Spanish.
I might do the one in Spanish. And your son know that in my household we speak Spanish. My wife being from Chile. Dianne, I interviewed your son Connor about 2 or 3 weeks ago and trying to get a profile on you. And I asked him what was special about Allied, what was special about the culture, and he said, there's something special about our instructors. And he said that you were the epitome of what was special. You're just really, really good with people. I picked up on that quickly. I would like to know what you've learned from your students, what you've learned from long-term care about yourself.
You know what? If the thing you learn when you work long-term care is the great circle of life. Yeah. And, seriously, that is to these human beings that are in your care. If we live long enough, we will be there. And, the respect and their stories. These folks have stories that are just remarkable and humbling. And gosh, if I have just a couple of minutes, I really want to tell you one story.
Please.
Her name was Beth, and she, oh my goodness, when she was there when I went to work there, and at that point she was very far into dementia. She had Alzheimer's. She had word salad. She would say just a few words here and there, and they were just mixed up. She didn't walk. And so no one had ever come in to visit her, nothing. And so we took very good care of her, but we didn't know the person. One day, this woman came in and she said she was Beth's sister and announced herself to us. And she had a big, those old photo albums, like 3-ring binder type thing. She brought one of those with her and she said, I want you to know Beth. And I said, oh, we know Beth. She's been here for years. She goes, no, you don't know my sister. And she proceeded to school me. And this woman had a storied past. She was one of like 13 children. She was a nun, left the nunhood, went to became a photojournalist, worked for a big newspaper, covered some war correspondence. I mean, amazing what she did with her life. And I had no idea. Here she is, this hero, this pioneer woman, amazing human being. And I had no idea who was in my presence, and that should humble us, and it should be our honor to care for these people, And as far as Allied, I just feel like everybody, it's expensive. You always feel like you can't get ahead of the boulder that's rolling down the hill quite fast enough. It's tough, and these folks that come want to improve their life, and they have such big hearts, and they want to do something that means something. And this really, when it's a good match, it's magical. And giving honor to the students, giving respect to our students, showing them love. That is something that I find to be just probably one of the greatest things I've experienced.
Dianne, when I speak to a lot of executives, whether it's being recorded on the podcast or it's an informal conversation, the industry's been worried about a staffing crisis for more than a year, if not 2 years, if not 3 years. If reimbursements remain the same and margins are so small, what could we do to help? What can facilities do to help in recruit, quality CNAs into the industry? I'm sure you have long-term care organizations who come to you and knock on your door and say, who's graduating this week? Who's graduating this month? How can we help?
One thing I can tell you is long-term care needs to be funded better. Boom. I mean, it needs.
Indeed. I lost you on I lost you on the camera, and I'm gonna take a moment just to give a shout out to our sponsor. I wanna thank Experience Care. Go visit www.experience.care. See what one of the oldest EHR companies in long-term care is doing in 2021 with their updated point of care. Thank you, Experience.care, for sponsoring this program and this podcast. And we're back with Dianne after some technical difficulties with our streaming program. Dianne, I only had one more kind of subtopic to follow up on before we sign off, and that is, what should I expect? I'm starting my CNN training with you in 3 days, in 4 days, and I don't know what the online training is going to look like. I don't know what the skills are going to look like, what the practical is going to look like. And I know that some director of nursing, some administrator, some owner is going to hear this interview and say, oh, I have a kid who works as a janitor, and I think this person should be in a CNA. Let's let them listen to this and hear and be inspired by your story. What should I expect? Because someone else is interested.
Sure. So what you're going to expect, you'll walk in, well, actually, a class will open and you'll get an email, a welcome email, and you'll click on that and it takes you right to your classwork. There'll be a few videos there. One is of me and just welcoming you and going through a few things. And then there's modules and you just click on them and it just follows right through. So you have about a week to work on some of your modules and get some of this learning. And you'll read a little bit, you'll watch a little video, they'll ask you a couple questions. If you get them wrong, you get to go back and get them right. It's not, oh my gosh, you missed this, you're gonna be kicked out. It's nothing like that. And so then you come in for your skills, what we call your skills.
Mm-hmm.
And that day you just wear comfortable clothing that you can move in, probably not flip-flops or anything like that, because you're going to be doing hands-on work. So the first day you get to meet with all your other students there with you and your instructors. And there's a little bit of talking. I always say if you talk more than 20 minutes, probably lost everybody. So we do a little bit of talking, then we do some hands-on stuff. And there's several different skills we go through. Everything from how to communicate with folks that have some barriers, whether they have some dysphagia, they're unable to speak, or maybe they can't hear well, or vision. We go through all of that. We learn how to work and communicate with people living with dementia. We learn how to lift correctly, how to transfer. We learn about nutrition and how to assist someone to eat. We use the lifts and the various different equipment. We learn how to do vital signs, blood pressure, pulse, respiration. And there's 3 days of those. And then meanwhile, you keep working on your online content. So all the book type work is online. And then you come in for your skills. Then you have a few days of what we call the clinical experience. And here, everything we practiced in class, we do with hands-on. So when we go to this clinical site, we usually go to a long-term care community in the area, and your instructor will pair you with an employee from that community, and you work with them. So the first day, what I tell folks is, I don't expect you to do a whole lot today on your own. I do expect you, for instance, if we're helping someone to get up in the morning, you can help, you can pitch right in, and they're putting on one shoe, you can help put on the other shoe, and to just be involved.
Mm.
That second day, you're really in it as a co-person with the person we have paired you with. And then that last day, I expect you to be the main person and that employee just to be your coworker with you. And it sounds like, wow, just in 3 days. Yeah, just in 3 days. Yeah, but you'd be amazed how far you come in that amount of time.
Well, I'm excited. I know that I'm not the only person who's a little bit intimidated. I'm excited to meet all of your staff and all of the teachers. And I will be documenting the entire process. So anyone who is hoping to inspire someone to become a CNA, go visit our YouTube channel, go visit Experience Care's YouTube channel, and you'll see how I signed up for Allied's CNA program. You'll see what my first classes look like. You'll see if I fail a test and have to retake it. And then you'll see my interviews with other classmates and instructors. Dianne, I know that there are going to be some individuals who are inspired by your story, and they're going to want to reach out to you online. Where's the best place for someone to find Dianne Powell these days?
Just go online, Google Allied Health Career Training. We're right there, and you can call us. You can go to our website. You can email us. We'd love to hear from you.
I will. We will do, and I will include those in the show notes. And I can attest to the fantastic customer service. I've both called and emailed you. It was very easy. Dianne, thank you for joining LTC Heroes today, and I look forward to connecting with you in the future.
Thank you. It's been great.